What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a rainy, gross day in Georgia. And we are going to do some Pickguard wiring. So, for those of you that are not familiar, at DylanTalksTone.com, we obviously make the pickups, but we also have a couple of other things cool that are cool too. So, no matter your commitment to your project, like if you're going to just replace pickups, if you're going to replace your pickguard, if you need to replace a pot, caps, anything like that, all of the parts that you see here on the stuff that we sell, we make available to you. So you can buy this same wire, this Gavit pre-tinned cloth covered wire we have here. Obviously we have the pickups, CTS pots, orange drop caps. We do have some paper and oil caps as well. The electro switches. We sell all that stuff individually. But one of the other things we do is we also have completely loaded pickguards like this. So this gentleman ordered a tortoiseshell pickguard with classic 5 pickups, a 22 cap, pretty traditional Strat wiring stuff. So I thought, what we would do is, now it's done, but let's go back in time for a second. Let's start with just the parts screwed into the pickguard, and let's solder this thing together. And I didn't edit it at all. I just did it in real time so that you would be able to see. And the idea is to give you an idea whether you just need to replace some pickups, whether you need to replace a pot, and some little tips and tricks and stuff that I use because I do a ton of these a week. Really, these are pretty popular. So just to give you some tips and tricks about putting together a Strat pickguard. So let's go back in time real quick and let's jump into it. All right, so let's do this thing. I apologize in advance if I bump the tripod. We're going to do our best here. Try not to edit this as much as possible. We're going to do the grounds first. Let's try to keep this as real time as possible. How about that? Do the grounds on the pickups first. And these pickups in this guitar, or this pickguard, are our classic 5s available on the website. I'll leave a link to them. They are just like a vintage wind, of course made with modern materials like everything else we do here. And pretty low output, kind of nice. All right, so people have a hard time usually with this part. So what we're going to do, I solder everything at 800 Fahrenheit. I do not have the Celsius conversion at hand. So what I do is I'll put a big pool of solder on the back of the pot ahead of time, like so, and then I will take and back up my cable ends here, my wire ends, and I will hold them together like this, and then I will reheat this and put that in there like that, and then worry afterwards about routing the cables around. And that's why I like using this pre-tinned Gavit wire that we actually have that on the website too now. We're selling wiring kits, which is cool. When you route this, you have to kind of make sure that it stays on the back of the pickup right here. If it sticks out too far, it won't drop into the guitar very easily. All right, so let's do our bridge pickup, which, because the switch goes this way, it kind of like pivots. It's counterintuitive, but the bridge pickup goes to the back of the switch right here. Be real careful when you're soldering onto the switch that you don't use too much solder. You don't want to drip solder down into the switch because you will ruin the switch. All right. Let's route everything nice and clean as possible over to here. Next will be our middle pickup. Next will be our bridge pickup. And honestly, this will be, if you're just going to put pickups in a guitar, you're done at this point, right? Just solder all your grounds to the back of the volume pot, and then boom, 1, 2, 3 wires. And if you order pickups from me, they'll all have this wire on them, which makes it super easy to put in the guitar. All right. Another little pro tip too, don't use big solder. This is 0.31 caster solder. I'll leave a link to it in the description too. It's just normal 60-40. But if you use big solder, you'll get sloppy. You'll get a sloppy result. And you don't want that. All right, let's go ahead and put our switch output wire on. Normally I have an exhaust fan on, but because we're making a video, it's like a little kid. We put our exhaust fan on, but usually it's too noisy for videos, so I will suffer with you. And the audio might be a little different because I'm just using the audio from this camera. No lavalier mic. All right, so then what I do, there's going to be a wire on the diagram that goes across to the other side of the switch, but I don't put it on the other side of the switch yet. At this point, I just solder it to this side. I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. So this wire, just make sure that's good. This wire goes over here and it bridges the two sides of the switch together. Because if you'll recall from an earlier video that we've done, Strat switches are actually two switches put together. There's a switch on this side and a switch on this side, and you bridge the sides together with this wire. Now, I don't solder this yet because it'll get in the way of some other stuff that we're doing here with the tone circuit. But I put it there because I will forget to put it on afterwards. So that's why I put it on now, just so that it reminds me that it's there. Okay, let's go ahead and put the capacitor on now, and I'll tell you why I do that here in a minute. Well, I'll tell you right now. Basically, I use the leg of the capacitor to deal with this so that we don't have to have another wire. So he goes right here. On our loaded pickguards, typically we use Sprague Orange Drop 22 caps, unless somebody makes a different, if they text me and be like, hey, can you put a 33 on there or whatever? Or, send me a message or whatever. Put a note on the order, that kind of thing. Boom. Now when you do this, just make sure that this other leg's not touching the cap on the, or the pot on the back right there. Then we're going to spin this around. The only key thing here is I like to have that kind of centered on the pot because you don't want it sticking off the backside here. And I like to leave a little room there, and I'll show you why in a minute. The other question we get all the time, people always ask me about wiring diagrams. I do not commit wiring diagrams to memory. My brain's doing too many other things. So believe it or not, as many Strat things as I've done, I actually have a wiring diagram over there on the cabinet, and I refer to it. I refer to it every time to make sure that I get it right. All right, so one of the things we're going to do here, typically your middle tone, let's see, no, I apologize. This is why I have to look at a diagram every time. Your bridge tone, or yeah, this is your middle tone. This typically goes to the middle pickup. The bridge tone doesn't usually have its own tone knob, but we're going to do the modern style. Usually we do that on all our loaded pickguards, where you take usually the this tone pot goes from here to here, but if you bridge these two together, then it makes it the bridge tone pot instead of the middle. That's all you have to do. So if you have a Strat, you can just take, the wire usually goes from here to here. Just take a little jumper and go from here to here, and now it'll work on your bridge pickup. So that's the way we like to do them. So on that, I usually pre-solder the switch. Go like this. Oops. Go like that. Pull this back. Oh, let's make sure that the insulation on that wire underneath is pulled up so that we do not have it touch. And then, boom, like so. And then I leave that. I'm actually going to leave that out of the way for a second. And then we're going to take, I'm using just scraps from the pickup wires, by the way, to do all this. So if you order a set of pickups from me, you'll have enough wire usually to completely rewire your pickguard once you cut the lengths off for your pickups properly. All right, so this one goes to the center of that. One of these days, maybe I should do like an ASMR soldering of a pickguard. That'd be kind of funny. And then, now that that is soldered, so you're not kind of being in the way of it, then you've got enough length to come over here. Let's make this nice and neat. Actually, I'm just going to push this all the way back, and I'm going to cut it off afterwards. Kind of like that. All right. And then just cut this little slack off here. Don't let it touch the pot. Obviously, don't forget to do this. All right, now see, we come back. Now we're done. We come back to this one and we solder this in because now it's not in the way to do it, if that makes sense. It just makes it a little easier in the order of operations to do it last. But you didn't forget about it because you had it laying on top there. Okay, now the other thing we need to do is we need to put our ground for our output jack right here. You notice that I've not soldered the pot to the leg of the pot to it yet. I do that all at the same time with the wire itself usually. You don't have to do it like this. I'm just telling you, this is just kind of how I do it. And I pull this back a little so I can get the eyelet on. Yeah, there we go. Get the eyelet on that all nice and full. And then we know we have a good bridge between the two. And then I don't have quite enough wire to get the output jack. So we're going to, there you go. So then this is going to be the hot to the output jack. It is a gross rainy day here. Rainy day in Georgia. Oop, that's not good. All right. And then what I do, I leave this loose because I don't, you need to be able to put this through the hole on your guitar. So I take your pure tone jack and I just slip it through there like that and coil it around and put it in the package. That way you know that that's what that's for. Okay, so then the last thing we need to do before we let you go is we need to ground all 3 pots together because we're on a plastic pickguard and this foil is not reliable enough to do so. So we're going to go ahead and ground all 3 pots together. It's going to be our last little move here. So what I do is I take and I make a pad of solder on the back of each pot. Remember earlier when I said I like this cap to sit kind of in the middle? This is why, because I don't want it to be in the way of doing this. Boom. There you go. And then I'll show you the trick for doing this. Take one of your scraps of wire that you'll probably have and heat this up. Solder this to here, like so. And then just pull the insulation back. And then solder it to here, like so. And then pull the insulation back again. Make that look nice. And the reason I'm using the insulation is so I don't burn my fingertips because that wire is a lot hotter than you realize. Keep it on the inside of the pot so it doesn't catch on the cavity when you put it in the guitar. Whoops, see, I told you I was going to hit the tripod. And we should be good. That, my friends, is a completed pickguard. So there you go. I should say everything we sell here is super high quality stuff. The pickguards are proper tortoiseshell. This is not imitation. All of the pickguards we sell are custom cut to every order. We do the best we can to give you really high quality stuff. I think this is a 5-ply. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 4-ply. The traditional style stuff. Super cool stuff. Of course, this has the stuff over it. I don't take the stuff off. Got to let the customer do that. But anyways, there you go. Of course, we have the telly stuff as well. Maybe we'll do a telly version of this too and put together a telly control plate. Let me know if you're interested in doing that as well. Everything's linked in the description. Thanks for hanging out, and I guess we will see you in the next video.